Call the member, Tracy Martin.
Thank you very much. Mr Chair, New Zealand First will be opposing this bill, and we'll be opposing this bill for the following reasons. Now, first of all, sir, let's just have a think about what are the purpose of laws. And apart from taxation, the majority of the purpose of our laws is to protect us. The laws are our fallback place. The laws state that this is the minimum we will accept for our people. And I want to just harken back to when I was working in the insolvency division of KPMG Peak Marwick when the Employment Contracts Act first came in. And that organisation ran training sessions for businesses and for employers on how they could use where the loopholes were and how that act could be used to tighten, to keep their employees in line, or to be used to their benefit. I'm not aware of any organisation that ran training sessions around that Act for employees. And what we've got here, Mr Bennett talks about flexibility, and I see the new member of the House from Invercargill, Ms Dowie, there, and I listened to her maiden speech earlier today, and it was a very good maiden speech, very nice maiden speech actually. Many of the National Party new members of Parliament used the words choice, used the words justice, used the words I'm here for all New Zealanders. I believe that's the catchphrase we're going to hear for the next 3 years. That is the 2017 campaign cry. I think that's what we're going to hear. Well, let's just talk about 19-year-old young man, pizza chef right now, and he's coming to see me about the fact that he can't get a contract. He's working 13 out of 14 days from 10 a.m. in the morning till 10 p.m. at night. And his employer, because of the situation of his employment, requires flexibility around his break times. So they are zero. And the law is supposed to be the minimum place that he can come back to so he can get some justice, whether it be natural or otherwise, so he can get some justice. Now, Minister Macleay, who's in the House, had a conversation with me in the elevators on the way up here and said, well, this young man has rights. This young man can actually go and seek his rights. And he absolutely can, except the fact that it will cost him money to go and seek his rights. It will cost him money to go and seek his rights. And this flexibility that Mr O'Connor stands and blithely says that everybody should have, they don't mean for all New Zealanders. Because if this young man went in there tomorrow and said, excuse me, but the law says I am entitled to a meal break, and the law says I am entitled to overtime pay after a certain period of time, the law says that I actually can work an 8-hour shift and decline working more, he will lose his job. And do not tell me that that will not happen, because in this environment, particularly this environment, it is those workers that are most vulnerable. And they are part of that all New Zealand that this party apparently is supposed to represent. But they are among migrant workers, young workers, older workers, women, those that work for minimum wage, where there is a queue out the door for their job, don't have flexibility and they don't have choice, and those members know it. Mr Bennett, you know it more than most. You know it more than most. But Mr Bennett would be the first, Mr Chair, to tell you that if that young man turned down those conditions, that he's a bludger. That he should be grateful for that one job, that job that has completely denied him all those rights that other workers stood up for. That his grandparents, that his parents, that Mr Bennett's parents believed was what was best and good about this country. It is the thin end of the wedge, and New Zealand First will not support it. But it is incredibly interesting that it is this part of the wedge that this government has decided in the first week of coming back into this House to set the tone for the next 3 years. So New Zealand, listen to what they say. Listen to the words they use and then understand that is just to keep you calm. Read the words in this bill and then tell me how up, Mr Bennett, take another call and tell us how that young man can get his rights.
Call the member Phil Twyford.
Mr Chairman, this is my first call in the 51st Parliament, and I want to start with a couple of points. First, I want to congratulate you, Mr Chairman, on your appointment as Deputy Speaker, and I want to thank the good people of the Te Atatū electorate for electing me to do this job for another 3 years.